Grand Rising, everyone. It is April 20th, 2025, Sunday morning, and we invite you. I'm sorry, we're grateful for your presence, and we invite your questions or comments about anything we've talked about or anything that you have given thought to during the course of this week. Are there any questions?
Well, I'll start off. I mentioned to you early part of the week, it looks like, or appeared to me anyway, that people in my circle were paying a lot more attention to Easter than normal. And I didn't know if it was a coincidence because of my little small sample size, but someone texted me a question about Easter. Well, I'll tell you, it was Jackie. Jackie texted me a question, and she had a question this morning, and I thought was pretty interesting. Just a good way to start us off this morning. So, uh, Jackie, do you want to ask your question?
Yes, thank you, Ron. Grand Rising, everyone. I was asking Ron just over the course of the week, uh, the Easter. Do you just had a question about Easter, Pastor? I know we talked about it some years ago, um, but the whole Good Friday thing. Do you say Happy Easter? Uh, just some things have been said this week that just has really raised the brow, and I paid attention then, but I just need a quick refresher. Just like I said, just some things have just been going on, and I just wanted to see if you could reiterate or just give us a refresher, please. Thank you.
Sure. Um, Whether or not you say Happy Easter is up to you. I mean, it's a preference, right? However, when it comes to the spiritual nature of Easter, Easter is non-existent. Um, Easter comes from the word Easter, which is actually a pagan holiday, and has nothing to do with the scriptures at all. There are several contradictions involving the story of Easter, even in the Gospels themselves. You look at Acts and what is it, the first chapter of Acts, where it talks about Jesus being resurrected and being on the earth for 40 days. Are you familiar with that? Before he
Yes.
ascended.
Hmm.
Okay. If you look at Luke, um, I think 24th chapter of Luke, and you read that whole story about the resurrection, when you get down to the 51st verse, what you will find is that Jesus ascended. The story says he ascended that day. Well, that was the same day of the resurrection. So you have him ascended on the same day that he was resurrected. Then you have him ascended 40 days later. Then when we look at the 3 day resurrection thing, supposed to be on Sunday morning, when in actuality it was Saturday evening, if you count it even by the scriptures themselves. So the bottom line is this, Jackie. Categorically speaking, it is no different than Christmas or any other supposedly holy day that we celebrate as Christian Jews or as Muslims. All of them are days that are made up, and they are made up for the express purpose of control, um, to have people be obedient by virtue of attending to rituals. And your acquiescence to the rituals says to the one who is overseeing those rituals, it lets them know whether or not you're falling in line or whether you're staying home, as opposed to going to these ritualistic celebrations. And that in itself uh, causes you to be singled out if you choose not to attend. So um, the celebration of them is no different than the celebration of Christmas. And what I mean by that is we've always said that we have no control over what days you are off from work. And in the days that you are off for it, whether it be for Christmas or for Easter, some other holiday, our encouragement is for you to spend that time with your family as opposed to making efforts to attend a pseudo religious, a pseudo holy ritual. So I guess it's the same as always that there is no spiritual meaning to it at all. And again, I do repeat, if you choose to say Happy Easter, that's a personal preference. Okay, does that help you, Jackie?
It does. Can you touch, and you may have on the Good Friday.
It's Good Friday is supposedly the day of crucifixion, and I don't know what's so good about it. Good Friday is simply another Catholic ritual. If Christianity is if Protestants were supposed to have separated from Catholicism, then why is it that it still adheres to the Catholic holidays? If Catholicism was so reprehensible that the Protestants were the protesters who became Protestants separated themselves from it, why do we still follow those rituals? The other thing about it is we're talking about sacrificing a human being. We're talking about sacrificing a person. Um, if the scripture tells us, and it does in Isaiah, that I did not tell you to sacrifice a bull for the sacrifice of a bull is no different than sacrificing a man. So why would we talk about the man being sacrificed for other men, and then even in saying that, lying about it, this is happening because for the redemption of men from all of their entanglements. When there are more entanglements now are related to Christianity, there are disentanglements. So whether it be Good Friday, whether it be Lent, whatever it is all devoid of spirituality. When I was younger, and I'm sure that most of you on this line can remember, we never celebrated Lent because Lent was considered to be pagan, and it was something that the Catholics celebrated. However, after 2000, the year 2000, when the Great Ecumenical Council was held with Catholics and Protestants and Jews and Muslims, all of a sudden it became okay to celebrate Lent. It was an in vogue thing. Prior to that, the Protestants who did celebrate Lent were Episcopalians and excuse me, Episcopalian and AME, was it Methodist, celebrated Lent. But when I was a little boy, we didn't celebrate Lent at all. We stayed as far away from it as we could. Um, and so again, nothing has changed in that regard. I don't see anything about Good Friday other than you may be off from work and have more time to be with your family or do what you choose to do. Anyone else would like to speak to that?
We've in the past, good morning, this is Barbara. We've in the past talked about resurrection, and one of the definitions by Origen is recovery of truth. And so more than paying attention to the quote unquote man Christ, which is really the concept, it's about recovery of the truth of who we are. So, and the question is, what's the truth of who we are? That we are divine in nature, that we are spirit, that we are one with the Creator who created us. And so that's the truth that's recovered. That's the only thing I want to offer this time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good morning, everyone. This is George for GC in Philly. And as Barbara was speaking about, speaking or knowing the truth, we always, hear that, Jesus Christ has risen, and we hear the word resurrection. And, I think in terms of our own understanding of truth, are we resurrected to the truth? And so I always just try to look at, this particular day as one in terms of our renewal or coming into the knowledge of who we are, our true selves, and more importantly, as an individual and collectively, are we resurrected? So I just wanted to mention that as just a concept or thought that sometimes go through my mind when I think about this particular day. I just wanted to share those thoughts. I'm done.
Thank you, sir. Matter of fact, George, that's one of the things I want to talk about today about us. But I appreciate your observation. Anyone else?
Good morning. This is Audrey. I just had a thought or a question. Saying Happy Easter, it's no different than saying Merry Christmas or saying the Muslims just celebrated the end of Ramadan, and I would say Eid Mubarak, or Happy Hanukkah. I mean, it's just a social thing, and you're just respecting whoever's belief. So I don't see a problem with saying Happy Easter. I think you're just respecting their belief, and you have your belief.
Thank you. Anyone else? Jackie, you've heard the input from others as well. Does that help you in your quest to understand it?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Uh,
Appreciate everyone. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Thank you. I'm sure that there were others who had questions as well. So I appreciate you bringing that question. Are there any other questions or comments? I want to invite you.
Real, before you start, help me understand. I mean, I've been hearing it a lot on the teaching. Happy Grand Rising or Grand Rising. Help me to understand that right there, so I know what I'm saying if I do say it. When I say it.
Yeah, when we say Grand Rising, it is us refraining from saying good morning, because good morning means that you're mourning something as opposed to rejoicing. And when we say Grand Rising, it is talked about referencing a great opportunity to rise from your sleep to the journey that we're in when we awaken. It also alludes to, for me anyway, alludes to the rising of the sun, from whence all life for this earth emanates. So beyond that, Charles, I have no input at this moment. However, I'm sure that there are others who would like to add to that. And if you would like to add to that, please speak to it now.
Well, just simply to me, because that sounds so simple. Good morning. You might look at it and say, what's wrong with that? And we've talked before about the power of words and the energy of words. Grand Rising, to me, sort of takes the lid off of things the same way Barb describes on the recovery of truth. As you understand who you are more, uh, you seek to be more, or do more, or understand more. So it just Grand Rising to me is a type of celebration, is to say, you know what, I respect the sun. I respect the newness of the day. Respect the newness of James Richard, of Audrey, of Barbara, of Kathy, of Charles. And we come together and we celebrate 3 days a week. So all of that is included to me in Grand Rising as we renew ourselves and we're reborn. We understand rebirth and recognize that we're reborn every time we come on the air and understand something new about ourselves. So it's more than just saying good morning or greetings to you. It is a celebration of this life that we have discovered. That's how I see it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Grand Rising family. This is Kathy. I did a little research on the phrase good morning when we started saying Grand Rising because I wanted to better understand what that meant. And I found on a documentary type thing on TikTok that spoke about where that term emanated from. And originally it said that a lot of the things that were done to the enslaved people, like separating families, taking the children from the mothers or selling their husbands, that was often done in the slave trade at night. And that the women and or whoever the families would cry all night long. And when the slave traders would get up in the morning and would greet them to kind of make fun of them, they would say, good morning. I hope you had a good morning as you cried over the loss of your family members last night. Did you have a good morning? And the documentary went on to say, you know, as it evolved, you just took the you out of the morning and started saying good morning. And so basically, when I better understood the origin of that phrase, good morning, everything that everyone just said about Grand Rising makes it so much better then, because you have to sometimes just understand the origin of where something comes from and the energy that is put in that comes with that. And when I better understood that energy, I saw why it was so important for us to kind of, and I still slip up and say it too myself, but I saw why it was more important for us to move away from that. And I just wanted to share that with the family. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, in addition, you know, when we, you know, say grand, it makes me appreciate the opportunity that I have today to be a grandparent. So whether we say, you know, grandpop or grandmom, I think it just has so much more substance and power and significance in terms of just that renewed energy of who we are and, as we said earlier, what the word means. So I just wanted to share those thoughts too. I'm done.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, everyone. This is
yeah,
Sheldon.
yeah. Okay, go ahead, Sheldon.
Piggybacking on, well, all three things that were just said just now, and moving on from the morning and now understanding the history behind it. And then when Ron started with the Grand Rising, and as he was describing, also what it does is meditative. Now that we understand, you're not just saying that word as in you're supposed to say that to speak. It means something much more. And so if you look at it, it predates, in a sense, ritual. So what rituals were supposed to actually be doing is it was something else beyond that physical thing that is happening, or was happening, that was supposed to be happening from the spiritual level, what was happening within. When Ron and George just now were talking about Grand Rising, and when Pastor Richard was talking about giving appreciation for the sun rising and all life emanating from it, from a physical realm, that is all a meditation. Even though you're saying it because it means so much more, something deeper. In a sense, you're feeling that down in your soul. And in feeling that in your soul, you're aligning your body with that as well, in terms of embracing that energy. First thing in the day, in a sense, transforming, having the power of also influencing that day making that a good day regardless. And when you say grand rising as well, you're not only doing that for yourself, but the person that you're saying that to, you're also wishing that upon them, because if you are sending that energy to them also, if it's only that they will actually receive it and embrace that coming from you and coming from your heart. And again, it's not just because the words themselves are actually being said. It means even more because we have discussed this, and now there's a deeper understanding, and automatically that is what you feel when you say grand rising. I'm finished.
Thank you, Sheldon.
Mhm.
When George said grandparent, the word grand triggered something. Grand speaks to being stately, majestic, dignified. So when we talk about grand rising, also we're talking about, I suppose, the dignity not only of the day, but the dignity that we carry in our essence, or the majestic way that we are to move, not only in this earth in a physical way, but also in our thoughts, in a stately manner, meaning that we are respectful of all life, and we add dignity not only to all life in the earth, but dignity to those who feel as though they have been left behind or ignored. So all of there's a plethora of things that is included in saying grand rising, and my desire is that as other things have been in the macro, that others will embrace this salutation as well, so that the energy of it will alter the energy that causes people to go through a day in a saddened way. Because when you think about it, what Kathy was talking about with the mourning of the enslaved people after family has been sold, um, you think about that, and you go to work, or you go throughout your day, and the first thing that you hear is that you are in mourning. And now you flip that, and the first thing that you hear is that you are majestic in the way that you move, you're stately in the way that you address people, and you're very dignified in your mannerisms. It makes a total difference, I do believe. So, Charles, I hope all of the statements that were made, all of those who addressed your question, I hope that it gave you some semblance of understanding.
Yes, it did, because now I'm asking questions, especially on stuff like this, because I don't want to do a trend.
Yeah, I understand.
And so everything that everyone's saying, I hear it, I believe it, now I understand it. So it'll be good for me to change my way of saying it.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This
And
is Barbara. I want to thank Charles for asking the question, because I apparently missed the earlier discussion of Grand Rising. So I have more knowledge about it as well. So thank you, Charles, for asking the question and for everyone's response.
thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? There is something that I would like to address today. The 82nd Psalm, we have talked about it in the past. And the portion of that we have primarily spoken about is that sixth verse. I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. But ye shall die like men and fall like one of the princes. If The Creator is saying that I say that you're gods, and we have embraced that. Then the question that came to me on yesterday is, and when the Creator said, "But you shall die like men," or that word should have been humans. So if you are to die like humans, but I say that you're gods, then who are the humans? Are we supposed to be human, or are we God? Are we both, or are we singly God, functioning as humans simply because we're in this physical body? What do you think? That was not rhetorical.
Say, could you rephrase that and kind of add more to it so I can understand what's being asked?
The question I'm raising is, if we are gods, and the Creator said that we are, but we die like men, we die like humans. So what is being said there? What is the illusion? What is he alluding to? That's what I'm asking.
Could it mean dying to self?
I think it's a bit more than that, Jackie. But thanks for what you offer. And it is because we see ourselves as being human, right?
Right.
So before I get any further into that, Jack, I would like to see if there are any other comments or thoughts on that.
I guess my thought, and this isn't going to answer your question, but I hope it adds to the discussion. What has been at least a couple of years since we looked at this and said we are gods, and that has been soaking in all of this time. We are closer, we are closer to seeing and understanding that more than we ever have been, but it has been a slow process. Because if you look at that first version and the second verse, God takes his stand in his own congregation. That speaks of boldness. And in place of boldness, we have been washing away the fear that is in us, the fear that has been in us for generations, that has strong roots because it really didn't start with us. So to say now, I say you are God, it takes a better hold on me than it ever has in the past, is what I'm saying. I see it now because of the continuous journey. I see it and understand it and accept it more. Not that I didn't try to accept it before, but it was harder. So all I'm saying is this has been a process. And even though we have agreed with it, taking it on and seeing yourself in that role has not been easy. So yeah, it's definitely worthy of a new discussion and maybe even some deeper insight into it. And I
Thank you.
hope I wasn't just rambling, but
You weren't. Audrey?
Did you see me just undo my mute? I kind of think of it as, and I'm saying this because we had a whole big discussion on what it meant to be human in the last couple of years. But I kind of see it in terms of like Neanderthal versus Homo Neanderthal versus Homo sapien. I think it's talking about you will die like just a human, not a human who is in the knowledge of yourself as God or Elohim. Our understanding of Homo Neanderthal versus Homo sapiens is that they were a little bit different. They were a different species. So I think in the same sense, it's saying that if you don't understand who you are, if you don't have that certain connection with the Creator, then you will die as just a mere human, not in the knowledge of who you are, and not also as an sort of an overcomer. That's not really the word I want to use, but anyway, that's the only word I got at the moment. So the difference would be
1 second, Audrey. 186, would you please mute your phone? Audrey.
So like Neanderthals, who were considered to be sort of a very primitive human, whereas Homo sapiens were considered to be the top of the hill human. When we don't understand who we are, we don't connect with the Creator, we don't, then we will just die as mere men.
Mere humans, mere Neanderthals.
Mere humans, yeah.
I want to look at, let's go look at that verse 2. And I see everything that you said, Audrey, as well. How long will you judge unjustly and accept the persons of the wicked? How long will you judge unjustly? This is talking about asking the question, how long will we, who have been said to be gods, judge unjustly? Just like the wicked are judging, we are accepting the face, we're accepting the countenance of the wicked, and we are judging like the wicked, which is unjustly. So what I'm hearing here is that when we realize that we are gods, we are beyond human, we are gods, then we no longer judge based upon the judgment of those who are wicked. We begin to defend the poor and those who are treated unjustly, and those who are ignored by those who are in power, those who are afflicted by the things around them. We are the defenders of those only because we know we're gods. Now, if that is the case, and we know now that we know we are God, then is this telling us, and I think it is, that we should not be functioning in this realm as humans, as mere men? Does that make sense so far? Come on, guys. Does that make sense?
Speak a little bit. It does make sense, but speak a little bit to judge, because
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, Ron.
yeah, what it is saying to me is, you know, who part of knowing who you are is you see your heart changing, or you experience your heart changing, and you start to pull away from seeing what the wicked does, and you know right from wrong, and you're making these judgments not only to protect them, but judgment speaks of punishment, does it not?
And
Judgment
condemnation.
also,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
So in that regard, I'm just looking at this because this is talking about an actionable thing. So and not just a recognition. And action, I mean spiritual, not of course taking up arms or anything that ridiculous. But yeah, speak to that portion of it if you would, please.
Sure. The judgment speaks about condemnation. It speaks about punishing people unrighteously, because unjustice speaks to unrighteousness. So we are unrighteous. It's speaking about unrighteously um, condemning people. It talks about unrighteously uh, um, making unrighteous judgment about people. For example, the unrighteous judgments are judgment that has been made about us, that we are animals. The unrighteous judgment that has been made about the young man who was sent to El Salvador. The unrighteous judgment that's being made about anyone who is not a white male. This is what it's talking about. All of the unrighteous judgments have been made, and when we have made statements ourselves about the unrighteousness of others. Um, when we made, I'm sorry, when we made statements ourselves based on what we have been taught when it comes to someone who has been imprisoned. The church does not see that person as someone who's worthy to deal with. We have been taught that we stay away from people who are in the streets. We've been taught that we stay away from people who don't believe in God. Those are unrighteous judgments. And where did all that come from? That did not come from a Babylon. That came from Christianity. And what is Christianity? Christianity is the brainchild of an unrighteous mindset. So what I see is saying is that we have been making judgments based upon um, an unrighteous mindset. We're not been functioning. We're not been making our judgmental decisions as gods. We don't even live like God lives. And that in itself says that there has to be someone else um, who's human, other than those who are God, because it says that instead of you dying like a God, you will die like a human. Does that make sense? If you can't die like a God if you're not living like a God. Someone's
So
about to
judgment is more than punishment. It's the lens, in another way of saying it, the lens through which we see things and respond to things, and or react to things. It can be both. A reaction is I see is different from a response, but it is the lens, the filter, the spirituality through which we, or lack of spirituality, through which we see things and make a determination about how we will react or respond.
yes.
Hello, everyone. This is Sheldon again. I guess similar to what Audrey was saying, it's just your very first question in regards to essentially what's the difference between someone dying as a god or dying as a human. at first I was seeing it as that point as one lives their lives, and when their life actually, I don't want to say ends, but as they actually go through transition, do they transition at the point where they have an understanding and knowing of who they are and that they are God in some sense? And it doesn't even necessarily have to be that you walking around saying that I am God. It could just be someone who has some type of awareness of being part of creation in their role, and not just seeing their existence as a human being. So the first part was when transition actually takes place. I don't want to say the shame, but how I saw it is what this book is actually saying in regards to speaking to the gods who are operating as humans. Not so much, well, I would say that the mindset of doing all these judging and upholding the wicked and even acting wicked is just essentially upholding and those who operate only as being human beings, and that person themselves actually operating as a human being as well. But those things and all of those actions are as a result of the God realizing that they're actually God or just a human being. And then the physical results or actions of that, I'm just going to say it for the sake of this conversation, calling all of us entities, would then be reflective of one's own knowledge of self and who one believes that they are. When I say believe on purpose, because at some point we ourselves have believed that we were a human, but we were always more. And at no point is the scripture saying that these people are human. It's saying that they die as humans, saying that they die in terms of that lack of understanding, die at that point of ignorance. And because they never realized that they were God, they never had the, I don't want to say opportunity, they never had with fortune enough in this particular physical lifetime to operate and experience fully being a God. It is definitely the case that is not that. I want to make sure to say that it is not that they are not God. It doesn't mean that they will never experience knowing and have a knowing of being God after transition. But it's more so, for lack of better words, is a shame that that person never got to fully operate in knowing as a God in this particular existence of theirs. That's how I see it. Apologies if I was rambling all over the place. I'm finished.
Oh, no, I think what we're dealing with is something that is more complicated than it appears to be in terms of making efforts to explain it with words as opposed to experiencing it. Let me see if
Yeah,
I
I agree 100%.
make it a little bit clearer, maybe. When it says that as Elohim walked in the midst of its congregation, here I am. I'm in the midst of the congregation. I'm telling the people, listen, you've not become aware of who you are. You have been acting and you have been acting like mere humans. In other words, you've not been acting like the gods that you were created to be. Your mindset has been tainted. Your mindset has been altered. So with that altered mindset, what you have actually been doing is making unrighteous decisions. And I'm saying to you that you were brought here to defend the poor, to defend the needy. You were not brought here to join in with those who are railing against the stability of mankind. That is not your purpose for being here. It is time for you to come to the realization that you are God, and what you have been doing you have been transitioning without the knowledge, without the understandings of who you are. And that is the reason nothing has really changed. So now that you are beginning, that you are able to see and experience who you are, do you not think it's time for you to not only embrace that you are God, but that you begin to process like you're God, for you to traverse this earthly realm like you are God, as opposed to simply being a physical entity, because you're more than that. You're only a physical entity, so that those who you are to bring deliverance to can relate to you. You as God, you don't need that physical entity to in your life for you to be able to relate to it. It is for the reason you are a God in a physical body is for it to relate to you. So it can see you with its eyes, so you can teach it how to see with the eye. Teach it to be God itself. You ought to create it in your image and in your likeness. Your mindset is to become their mindset. Righteousness and mercy and love and kindness are the elements that you ought to bring into their lives, so that they will have a mindset that brings stability, as opposed to bringing instability to humanity. Does that make sense? Is that illegal what's being said here?
Hey, Pastor, this is Charles again. I know I'm slow, but
No, you're not.
y'all are bringing me in the
Charles, you're not
Now,
slow.
tell me, can you put this in simple terms, like you and your children and your son, and the
Yeah.
Richard name is God?
Okay.
Talk to me that way.
Okay. And I do on one condition: that you never call yourself slow again, because you're not. Is that understood?
God, Charles.
Yes.
That's understood. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
What I'm saying in essence is this, and I'll put it in the terms that you asked. James Richard is in the congregation, is in the midst of his family. He's telling his children, listen, you have gone to school and you learned all these things, interacting with other people from an education, with an education rather, that does not relate to who you really are. And as a result of that, you have been mistreating your friends. You have not been treating your friends the way that God treats the people around them. So you you must understand that you are God. And when you begin to understand that you're God, you no longer treat them in an unrighteous way. You no longer look down on them because they don't understand the way that you understand, or you don't look down on them because you've been taught by a European mindset to look down on them. You are a God, and if there is to be any stability in this world, then speaking to my children, you are going to have to be the ones to bring that stability, because you're God. And my expectation of you is for you to cease being what you have been told you are, a human, but you are to be the God that you were created to be. And with this expectation, the next time that I have a conversation with you, it would be on the basis of you being God, and not you being in denial of being God, not with you not understanding the divine nature of your being. Does that make more sense, Charles?
Yes, it does. Thank you, man.
All right, thank you. And anyone else would like to speak to us, bring more clarity? I would appreciate it if there's anyone else. Okay, moving forward with that, What we are, well, I believe what the scripture is, the psalm is actually saying to us is that you can't make righteous decisions about the earth without knowing that you are God. You cannot make righteous decisions about what's happening in this realm. You see in the 8th verse, arise, O God, judge the earth, for you shall inherit all nations. You cannot make these righteous decisions about the earth without being God, not just saying it, but being God, being Elohim. You will not make those decisions. The decisions you make will be selfish, as opposed to being for the benefit of humanity. You cannot inherit all nations. All nations, inheriting all nations. What is that talking about? You cannot actually dominate all nations, or be the rulership in all nations. If you don't know who you are, because if you were, you would do it in an unrighteous manner. You would mistreat people. You would do the same things that you have been taught to do in this physical realm. So it is imperative that you cease to be guided by the mindset that you have been given. It is imperative that you are guided by the nature that brought you into existence, and that nature being the essence of divinity. Regardless of what anyone says to you, you are divine, and being divine gives you not only the courage, but it gives you the authority to balance this earth. And I do believe that we are back in this psalm, seeking to understand this with a greater clarity, because we are on the precipice of seeing a change in this earth. Now, this is what I also see in this. Yes, we are Elohim, one yet many. And the many are the thoughts that we are. What do I mean by that? And if I may use it as an example, as opposed to being saying that these are the only ones, because I'm not. As an example, if we were to take all of us who are the teachers and say that, okay, we're God. Now, this is one yet many, meaning that there are many approaches to understanding who you are. Whether it's Audrey or Charles or Kathy or Ron or ST, whomever it is, you are thoughts. You are thoughts in the midst of this massive mindset, and the way that you see things is because there are those who understand from the way you present what you see, and there are those who don't understand from the way that you present. However, there are others within this realm of godliness, this divine realm, who speak in a manner that that other person understands. And so what I'm saying is that all of us, being 13 of us, speak differently, teach differently, see things differently, but we all see the same thing, but in a different way. And the reason is because there are those who need to understand. There are those who are receiving from the macro who receive differently. And because they receive differently, we put it differently in the macro. Does that make sense? Come on, y'all, help me.
Yes.
Yes, it makes sense.
Most certainly.
Thank you. So what I'm saying also is that I do not believe that we can move further or experience the manifestation of balance if we are not willing to make every effort to not just say we God. And as Sheldon said earlier, we don't have to go around broadcasting, and neither do you have to wear a t-shirt saying I'm God. But our attitude, our speech, our actions must be reflective of that. Does that make sense?
I got a question. I want to go back to the Psalm a minute.
Yeah.
Um, Religion, Christianity has taught us to separate ourselves here. Look at verse 1 and say, He judged in the midst of the rulers. Verse 4 says, Deliver them out of the hands of the wicked. Then comes back and says, What about the wicked? What about so the actions of Elohim is what we're saying. The actions of this deliverance is what will also prick the hearts of the wicked. Is that
Yes.
what we're saying? Okay, speak more to that.
Okay.
We've been taught when we look at this, they're not inclusive. That part is not inclusive. But if you really understand that I am God, there has to be some sympathy or something there for them as well. Because they're part of first verse 4 say, rescue the weak and the needy. They're just as weak and needy as anybody.
And their fathers.
Yes.
No, the wicked are the main ones who are to be the recipients from the righteousness, because of the righteousness rather. Why? Because the source of all of the issues that beset humanity comes from the wicked. So yes, the wicked are and I don't like using this word, but a target, of righteousness, so that their hearts can be pricked, so that the stony hearts can be changed into a heart that's more malleable, a greater sense of love and kindness, as opposed to the manipulation, the adversarial manipulation of mankind. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So is that clear with your mindset? I mean, what you're saying, Ron?
Yeah, I just the way we've studied God and understand there's always a separation. If you look at the government, what's going on now, there is a separation. We pray but even looking at the scriptures, it's a separation. But when you actually see yourself as God, as the scripture says, it rains on the just and the unjust.
Yes.
So there has to be some part of this that we embrace all of this whole thing, and without that separation. And yeah.
Well, okay. Let me see if I can speak to that. Okay.
Okay.
Here we are. Right now, all of us are invisible to mankind, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that invisibility to all of humanity does not mean that we don't exist. What it does mean is that when it starts to rain, that rain is going to change the heart of all of humanity, right? It's going to make the African realize that it is God. It's going to make the African realize that it has no right to bring punishment upon anyone, rather to change everyone. Does that make sense? So when it begins to rain, the eye of the African is open. And at the same time that the eye of the African open, the struggle of the European mindset begins to plague the heart of those who have a European mindset, regardless of exterior appearance. Now, what can I do? Oh my God, I've been wrong all of this time. What do I do to change? Are you with me so far?
Mm-hmm.
So what happens when that heart is pricked and that there is a search for change, even though the physical presence of the African or the African mindset is not seen, the presence is felt. And now that the search is on, now that energy of desire is being transformed so that the mindset is being transformed as well. And the thoughts are no longer, I'm going to make all the money I can at the expense of everyone, regardless of how much it hurts them. All of that begins to change. And now the ones who are the controllers of all of the wealth and all of the manipulation, let's just call them the billionaires, okay? All of them are still at the top in their own minds. The people have changed their mindset because the direction of their desires has been altered by what is in the macro. But the billionaires will not accept that. So now they're aligned to themselves because they think they're still in control. And tomorrow morning when they wake up, everything is topsy-turvy, meaning that the whole system has shifted. And now the system has been shifted to the place where it benefits all of humanity. And how does that happen? And here we go again with another scenario, okay? When the billionaires wake up, no longer is the dollar worth anything. The only thing that's worth anything now is what? A rock. The rock is the currency. So now everyone has a rock. So everyone now can purchase what they need or can exchange for what they need. And those who were in control, who thought they were in control, now they are in poverty. And the poverty that they are in has been brought on by themselves. And some of them will die that way, but others will look at that and say there is a better way and change. Does that make sense? So we are obligated to, as God, to make sure that these things move, these things meaning the mindset, the thoughts move in this direction by virtue of putting it in the macro. Now, now that we see that all of these things that's happening to people can be mitigated by us, it doesn't bother us anymore. Why? Because we know that we are God, and we know that we are the mitigators of all these adversities that people are enduring. We don't have to concern ourselves about that. So now what happens is I don't get angry. I'm not angry because the police shot somebody yesterday. I'm not angry because Trump fired somebody yesterday. I'm not angry because Trump had a tariff yesterday. I'm not angry about any of that. Why? Because I am God, and I am a mitigator. And as a mitigator of all of this, it doesn't matter what happens because I am the change that needs to occur. Now, if I disconnect myself from all of that, then I would never be in a position to change the mindset of those who are following the billionaire group. Does that make sense? Questions, anybody, comments? Because this is not just a dialogue between Ron and me. I want to make sure that we are seeing what we're talking about.
I have a question. It's Mary. I'm trying to understand. We said we God, and I get that. I understand what you're saying about the billionaires and stuff. But are they not God walking as they're not? Well, who are the gods? Is the Bible just talking to people of color?
Yes.
That's what's confusing. You said yes.
Yes, the African is the gods in this earth. Yes.
I have a follow-up question on Mary's question.
Mm-hmm.
That we are talking about a mindset here, are we not?
Yes.
And that mindset, does not everyone have the opportunity to, if all were created by the one, does not everyone have that opportunity to embrace that mindset and be the God? I'm asking what Mary asked, but from another perspective.
I know what you're saying. And that's why I said earlier, the mindset, regardless of what you look like on the outside, it doesn't matter whether you're yellow or brown. It doesn't matter. What matters is your mindset. Your
So the
mindset,
billionaire, so the
huh?
billionaire who has not, so the billionaire that Mary alluded to, who has not accepted and embraced the mindset of who it is, that doesn't mean that it's not God. It's not aware of who it is. And I guess what threw me was when you said the African as and I thought of a man, but the African mindset is what you were talking about, I believe. And they
Yes,
have to embrace that same mindset to be the God that they are.
yes. Let me go all the way back with this. In the beginning, for, for millions of years, the only mindset in the earth was the African mindset. And the mindset of humanity did not change until they came in contact with Europeans. And the European mindset, through its violent nature, changed the mindset or sought to change the entire mindset of humanity. By perpetuating greed and all the other stuff. It's up to the African to create the mindset, to create the mindset of its nature, to bring into existence the mindset that was dominant in the earth from the beginning. The dominant mindset in the earth from the beginning was not European. The dominant mindset in the earth is only European because the Creator intended to be that way. Why? Because the African spirituality being in these physical bodies gives opportunity for the Creator to have a physical experience. And in order for us to be God in this earth, we must create in our image and in our likeness. Created in our image and in our likeness have nothing to do with creating people who are dark skinned, but it does mean that we create in our image and likeness when we are talking about being the mindset of the Creator, being the mindset of the African, having a melanated mindset as opposed to a non-melanated mindset. When we talked about the spiritual nature of melanin the other day, what we were talking about is that the physical chemical of melanin is a representation of the spiritual nature of melanin. And the spiritual nature of melanin is a divine mindset that seeks to bring every thought under submission to the mindset of the divine. And being the first in the earth means that the first in the earth was divine, and that divinity has not changed. That divinity was mitigated by wickedness, by a mindset that is foreign to the children of the sun, the children of Akabalon. And right now, the dominant mindset in the earth is a European mindset, and they are not gods at all. The reason that the European is not God is because it is impossible for you to have for you to be Elohim and not have empathy. And that is the reason I say it has nothing to do with your skin. It has everything to do with your mindset. Because there are people who look just like us, who think like Europeans, and in thinking like Europeans, they act like Europeans. And in acting like Europeans, they would do anything for a dollar. They would do anything to control. They would do anything to manipulate. They would do anything for power. That is not the African mindset. Neither is that the substance of what we create with in order to create in our image and likeness. Does that make sense? Baba G, Mary, does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, but contrarily as well. No, not a but and contrarily. There are Europeans, there are those who have European mindsets right now, who once they have come to an awareness of who they are and embrace that, and I mean the essence of spirituality, the essence of the spirit that they are,
essence of loving kindness. They are gods as well. It's not, as you said, about skin color. It's about mindset.
And there is a struggle right now with Europeans making that effort. The one we meet with once a month, there are those in that group who are consciously making that effort. However, the difficulty is this. The difficulty in making that effort is that Christianity still has hold on them. And Christianity will not allow them to see that Africans are divine, or that the African mindset is a mindset of divinity. They are still looking at Jesus as opposed to looking at what the truth really is. And slowly but surely, their mindset is shifting. Of some of them, the mindset is shifting to a place where it has, or to a point where it has gotten to a place where it has begun to question Christianity itself, but not gotten to the place where it is willing to embrace the reality that Jesus is a figment of the imagination of Europeans for the express purpose of manipulating and controlling people who don't look like them. When that transition takes place, it is then that they become, they began to think rather, they are created in the image and likeness of Cabylonians. Does that make sense? And let me say this before anybody responds. Let me say this before anybody responds. The reality of the whole situation is something that it is difficult for mankind to accept, especially Europeans. The difficult thing for Europeans to accept and Africans who think like Europeans to accept is that the only God in this earth from the beginning has been the African, because there was nobody on the earth except the African from the beginning. Can you see that? Hello?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
The only African.
Yes, sir.
Now, 55,000 years ago, when other people began to appear on the earth, that's when the shift started. And the reason the shift started is not because we are supposed to hate white folks. No. White folk on this earth, what, 10,000 years ago. It's not to hate them. It's because the Creator intends for us in this earth to create in our image and likeness. And if we are to create in our image and likeness, then what we create in our image and likeness will also be God. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Mary?
I'm still thinking.
See,
I'm
saying, but I'm saying sound racist. I know that.
What I see, when I'm thinking about the scripture that you're God, and if we're saying that, and you're talking about mindset right now, and I also the thing about positive and negative energy, where I see the European mindset is negative, and the African mindset is positive energy. I'm just all over the place because I don't get it. But it'll come. I have to.
Well, let me try it again. Let me try it again. There were only 2 months. In the month of June, there was nobody on the earth except gods, right? And all the gods on this earth were African. Are you with me, Mary?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In July, other people were birthed into this earth from the African through a genetic shift. And these people had a mindset that was different than that of the African. And that mindset is what we call the European mindset. So the Creator did this on purpose, because in order for those physical Africans to be gods in the earth, then they had to create in their image, not people, but mindset. So the African mindset had to influence the European mindset. The evilness had to go, the wickedness had to go. So the transformation of that negative energy came by the African shifting the mindset or transforming the mindset of the European. And in doing so, the European having that African mindset becomes God also. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay.
Because I thought you were excluding those, because I was thinking, and maybe I didn't say it clearly enough, that the billionaires or whoever, once they get the African mindset, do they not become God? And I thought you said no, and that was like, okay, I'm lost.
I thought you said that are we the only God, Africans the only gods in the earth? That's what I thought you asked.
I did say that too. You
Okay.
was correct. And
Okay.
but we are and we are not, because once other people get the mindset, because that's the goal, is to have that African mindset for the whole world, so
And
that
they
they
don't
can
have
see
it.
what we are, sir.
But they don't have
Okay.
it.
Yeah. Okay.
And people who look like us don't have it yet.
Oh, yeah, I know. Okay, now it's making sense, because even when you think of the African mindset, and I think all this stuff that's going over in Africa with black people against black people, doesn't mean that they have, just because they're African doesn't mean that mindset is where it needs to be, and this is what we need to pray and meditate on, that the mindset travels the whole world, the African mindset of from the table on, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Now let me say this also to everyone, brothers. What I found is that if I were saying that white people are the ones who are gods in this earth and their mindset is what we have to mimic, that's fine. That would be easy for people to take. But it's so difficult for anybody to think positive of us as being God. And the hardest ones to think that is us. And you'd be amazed at the white people who are in charge, who know that we're God. And that is the reason they treat us the way they do. And that is the reason they manipulate us the way they do, because they don't want us to know it. And it's difficult for us to accept that we are. And I know what I'm saying today is difficult for people to swallow, but the truth is usually hard to swallow. Sometimes it will choke you, but drink some more water so you can get it down. But it's just the truth. How is it? Well, I'm gonna leave it alone because you see it clearly. I'm done with that part of it. Are there any other questions? I don't want to confuse you more. Questions or comments?
Pastor, I have a question about South Africa. I want to say, and I'm trying to present it, it's always kind of looked upon as being negative. And I heard someone say, well, with the guy that was held hostage at Communist Church or whatever, and I heard someone else say, oh, I've just been following things in South Africa for some time now, and it's a mess. Do you care to elaborate? Oh, I've heard several, and this is not the first time that I've heard them refer to South Africa as just being negative.
The whole of Africa is seen as being negative. It's not just South Africa. The people who talk negative about South Africa are the same people who talk negative about Nigeria. It's black folk and white folks. The most negative and detrimental thing that happened in South Africa is apartheid. The control of white people of South Africa. when you have approximately 7% of the people controlling 70% of the land. That is in itself is negative, is racist, and it is a classic example of apartheid. But the whole idea concept of apartheid came from South Carolina. So when you talk about the negativity of South Africa, I don't know what you mean. Differently than the negativity of any other part of Africa. Any part of Africa that seeks to self-govern is said to be negative. And if you, in the statement that you made earlier, it sounds like one of the statements that Donald Trump made in regards to South Africa, when he and Elon Musk was talking about bringing South Africans into this country because of the African people taking their land. That's BS. So I don't normally entertain any questions about one part of South of Africa being negative in regards to how white folks see it, because white folks see everything black, whether it's Africa or Jamaica, as being negative. All of it is the same thing. Racism in South Africa is racism in Union, South Carolina, and Gaffney in Canada. Racism is what racism is. The whole idea of the NATO, the national, what is the NATO alliance? What is North Atlantic Treaty?
North American, yeah, North Atlantic Treaty is.
Yeah. The whole idea for it is racism. It is to make sure that the whole world see everything African as being negative, and that the whole world is controlled by white folks. Period. And I know that Christianity has taught us, well, you don't talk about people like, well, it's just the truth. Europeans formed NATO for the express purpose of controlling black folks. Period. If you think that, well, black folk and Hispanic folk and Asian folk, that is not true. It's us. One Asian woman got slapped in California, and 6 months later they had anti-hate crime bill for Asians. We've been trying to get an anti-hate crime bill passed in this country since 1865, and it's never been passed, and it doesn't even come up anymore. So it irritates me for people to and I'm not talking about you, Jackie. I'm talking about for people in these talking heads to act like that the African should be grateful for all that they have when they don't have anything except racism. I find it irritating to listen at talking heads speak to the idea that the concept rather that Africans have progressed quite a bit in this country or in this world, when that is not true. The best thing that could happen to this world is for NATO to fall apart. The best thing that has happened in America in regards to Africa is for AID to have been demolished, because AID has been a CIA front in Africa for years. The Voice of America has been the propaganda arm for the CIA around the world for years. Those two things, when they were destroyed, Africans shouted. They celebrate the destruction of those two things. And it's important for us to understand the why behind that. If you look at where AID has been, and you will see that the economic system or the plight of the people who live in those countries has not improved. It has not improved. Money has gone into the hands of leaders, but as far as by and large, the people have not, their conditions have not improved, and it is the lack of improvement has been organized by America and European countries so that they can continue to control the lives of African people. So I don't know how else to respond to that question, Jackie. And I hope it brought some clarity. I don't know, baby.
It did. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Anyone else? Okay, if there are no more questions and no comments, I'm done. I want you to enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for your comments, your questions, your responses, your presence, your energy. And hopefully we will see each other on tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
everyone.
I'm still
Goodbye,
processing.
everyone.
Thank you.
Still processing. Thank you.